Jake Harrison stood in the center of the biggest room he had ever seen. The walls went up so high that he could not see the top. Around him sat creatures that looked like nothing from Earth. Some had 6 arms, others had skin like glass, and a few looked like giant bugs with wings. They all stared down at him with eyes that showed no kindness. Jake wore his best uniform, the dark blue one with gold buttons that his wife had pressed for him that morning. He thought about her now, waiting back on Earth with their 2 children. He thought about how he would tell them what happened here today. The weight of representing all humans pressed down on his shoulders like a heavy coat. The creature at the front of the room spoke with a voice like breaking ice. It had no mouth that Jake could see, but somehow the words came anyway. Human Jake Harrison, you speak for your kind before the Galactic Council. We have watched your people for 50 Earth years. We have seen what you do. Jake cleared his throat. His voice sounded small in the huge room. Thank you for this chance to speak. Humans want to join the Galactic family. We want to learn from you and share what we know. A creature that looked like a walking tree made a sound like wind through leaves. Share what you know? Your people make war on each other. You destroy your own planet. You act without thinking. That was in our past, Jake said. His hands felt sweaty inside his gloves. We have changed. We have learned to work together. We stopped the wars. We fixed our planet. We built ships to reach the stars. The glass-skinned creature at the front table spoke again. You saved the Kelton people when we said to leave them alone. You gave medicine to the Harmony worlds when we had rules against it. You always act with your hearts instead of your minds. Jake felt his chest get tight. These were the things humans were proud of. When the Kelton colony ship broke down in space, Earth sent 3 rescue ships. When sickness hit the Harmony worlds, human doctors went to help even though it was dangerous. We helped because it was right to help. We could not watch others suffer and do nothing. A bug-like creature clicked its mouth parts. This is the problem. You do not follow orders. You do not respect the way things are done. You think you know better than beings who have lived among the stars for thousands of years? The room filled with sounds Jake did not understand. Clicks and hums and whistles. He knew they were talking about humans deciding what to do with his people. He looked around at their faces and saw no friends. Lisa Martinez stepped up beside Jake. She was the smartest person he knew, a doctor who studied alien life. Her dark hair was pulled back tight and her brown eyes were sharp with anger. You call helping others a bad thing? You say caring about life is wrong? Maybe you have forgotten what it means to be alive. The glass creature's voice got colder. Dr. Martinez, your emotions prove our point. Humans cannot control themselves. You act on feelings instead of logic. This makes you dangerous to the order we have built. What order? Lisa shot back. An order that lets people die while you sit in meetings? An order that values rules more than lives? If that is your order, then yes, we are dangerous to it. Jake put his hand on Lisa's arm to calm her, but he felt the same anger burning in his chest. Around the room, alien eyes watched them with something that might have been fear. He realized that these creatures were afraid of humans. They were afraid of people who would risk everything to save strangers. The voting started. Red lights appeared on boards around the room. Jake counted them and felt his heart sink. Red meant no. Red meant humans were not wanted here. The lights kept coming until almost every board showed red. The council has decided, the glass creature said. Humans are not fit to join galactic society. You will leave all worlds outside your home system. You will take all your people back to Earth. You will not return to galactic space. Jake felt the words hit him like punches. You are making us prisoners in our own solar system? You have 60 days to gather all humans and return them to Earth. After that, any human found in galactic space will be dealt with by force. The huge room started to empty. Creatures floated, walked, and crawled away without looking back at the humans. Soon Jake and Lisa stood alone with 2 other humans who had come with them. Ben Rodriguez, a ship captain with kind eyes and steady hands. Elena Foster, young and smart and now looking lost. What do we tell everyone back home? Elena asked. Her voice was quiet and sad. Jake looked up at the empty seats where beings had just voted to throw humans out of the galaxy. We tell them the truth. We tell them that being human is not something to be ashamed of. We tell them that caring about others is not a weakness. Lisa nodded. And we tell them that this is not the end. This is just the beginning. Jake thought about the long trip back to Earth. He thought about the millions of humans living on other worlds who would have to leave their homes. He thought about his children asking why the aliens did not like them. But he also thought about human stubbornness, human cleverness, human refusal to give up. "They think they know us," he said as they walked toward their ship. "They think they have seen what humans can do. But they have only seen us when we were trying to fit in with them. They have not seen what we can do when we are free to be ourselves." The walk to their ship felt like the longest walk of Jake's life. Behind them, the council building rose into the sky like a mountain of glass and metal. Ahead of them waited a small Earth ship that would take them home with the worst news in human history. But as Jake climbed into his seat, he felt something strange. Not sadness or fear, but excitement. The aliens had just made the biggest mistake of their long lives. They had given humans something they had never had before, a reason to prove just how special they really were. Kate Sullivan watched from the big window of her ship as the last group of humans came home to Earth. Ships filled the sky like a river of stars, each one carrying people who had to leave the worlds they loved. Some had lived on Mars for their whole lives. Others had built homes around distant stars. Now they all had to come back to where humans first learned to dream of space. Kate commanded the biggest rescue operation in human history. Her ship, the Earth Defense Ship Defiance, led hundreds of other ships as they gathered humans from across the galaxy. Every day for 2 months, more ships arrived at Earth carrying families, scientists, workers, and dreamers who had been forced to abandon everything. "Admiral, that is the last transport from Alpha Centauri," said Danny Wright from his seat at the navigation controls. Danny was young but smart, and he had worked without sleep for days to help coordinate all the ships coming home. "All humans are now back in our solar system." Kate nodded but felt no joy. 300 million people now crowded into space around Earth and Mars. The space stations were packed with too many people. The moon colonies were full. Even Earth itself was struggling to find room for everyone. "Send word to all the colony leaders. We need to start building new homes fast." Down on the moon in the deep tunnels of Luna City, Chris Thompson was working on something that would change everything. Chris was one of the smartest humans alive, the kind of person who could look at impossible problems and find ways to solve them. Around him, computers hummed and flashed with numbers that few people could understand. "The aliens think they know how the universe works," Chris said to his friend Amy Carter as they stood in front of a wall covered with equations. Amy was just as smart as Chris, maybe smarter, and she had ideas that made other scientists shake their heads in wonder. They have had the same technology for thousands of years. They never had to think of new ways to do things. Amy pointed to a set of calculations that showed how alien ships moved faster than light. "Look at this. Every species in the galaxy learned to travel between stars the same way. They all found the same old technology left behind by some ancient race. They just copied what they found. They never made anything new." Chris smiled. "But humans never found those old machines. We had to figure it out ourselves. And when you have to build something from nothing, you learn to think in ways that others cannot imagine." Meanwhile, high above Earth in the orbital shipyards, Ryan Brooks was building ships like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Ryan had been making spaceships for 20 years, but now he was free to try ideas that had been too strange for the aliens to accept. These new ships would not just copy alien technology, they would be better. "The first test ship will be ready in 6 months, Ryan told Kate during one of their weekly meetings. The Admiral had come to see how the work was going, and Ryan was excited to show her what his team had built. "If our math is right, it will be faster than anything the aliens have, and they will never see it coming." Kate looked at the strange new ship taking shape in the construction bay. Its hull was smooth and seemed to change color as she watched. "How is that possible?" "We learned from studying alien ships before they kicked us out," Ryan explained. "But we did not just copy them. We made them better. This ship can change its shape while it flies. It can hide from their sensors, and it can go places their ships cannot go." Back on Luna, Amy was making the discovery that would change human history. She had been working on new ways to bend space for 18 months, trying to find a path that aliens had never walked. Her laboratory was buried deep in the moon's rock, hidden from any eyes that might be watching from space. "Chris, you need to see this right now," Amy called out. Her voice was shaking with excitement and fear. She had found something that should not be possible, something that broke every rule the aliens thought they knew. Chris ran to her workstation and looked at the numbers on her screen. His eyes got wide. "This cannot be right. Run the test again." Amy's hands flew over the controls. The same numbers appeared. "It is right. We are not just making ships that are faster than alien ships. We are making ships that work in a completely different way. Their sensors will not just miss us. They will not even know we exist. The new technology did not punch holes through space like alien ships did. Instead, it folded space like paper, making distant places become close without breaking anything. It was gentler, smarter, and completely invisible to alien science. News of Amy's breakthrough spread quickly through the human leadership. President Helen Davis, who had been elected to lead Earth during this crisis, came to Luna to see the discovery for herself. She was a tough woman who had spent her life in politics, but even she was amazed by what Amy had found. "How long before we can put this in a real ship?" Helen asked. 6 months for something small, Amy replied. "Maybe a year for a big ship," Helen nodded. "Do it and keep it secret. If the aliens find out what we are building, they might decide that exile is not enough." While Amy and Chris worked on the new engines, other humans were solving different problems. Lisa Martinez, the doctor who had stood up to the Alien Council, was working on ways to make humans better without losing what made them human. She was not trying to turn people into machines like some aliens did. She was trying to help humans become more than they were while staying human. "We are not trying to copy anyone else," Lisa explained to President Davis during a secret meeting. "We are trying to become something new, something the galaxy has never seen before." The work continued in secret across the solar system. On Mars, factories built new metals that were stronger than anything aliens used. In the asteroid belt, miners dug up materials that would power the new ships. On Earth, pilots trained to fly in ways that alien minds could not understand. Sam Parker was one of those pilots. He was young and fearless, the kind of person who could fly through a thunderstorm and laugh while doing it. When the first test ship was ready, Sam was chosen to take it on its first journey to another star. "It feels alive," Sam reported over the radio as his ship bent space around itself, "like it knows where I want to go before I tell it." The test flight to Proxima Centauri and back took only hours. The same trip would take alien ships weeks, but more importantly, no alien sensor detected Sam's ship. As far as their technology could tell, he had never left Earth. "We are ready," Sam said when he returned. "Whatever we do next, we can do it without them knowing." Kate Sullivan stood in the command center of the Defiance, looking at reports from across the solar system. Humans were building ships, training crews, and preparing for something that had never been tried before. They were getting ready to return to galactic space, but not as the same people who had been cast out. "They think they know what humans are capable of," Kate said to her officers. "They think they have seen our limits. But they made one big mistake. They gave us a reason to show them what we can really do." Outside the windows of the command center, the lights of human ships filled the darkness between the worlds. Each light represented people who had lost their homes but not their hope. People who had been told they were not good enough but refused to believe it. People who were about to prove that being cast out by the stars was the best thing that had ever happened to humanity. Sam Parker guided his ship through the darkness between stars, invisible to every sensor in the galaxy. 3 years had passed since humanity's exile, and now he led the first human mission back into alien space. His ship, the Earth reconnaissance vessel Wraith, moved like a ghost through the heavily patrolled borders of what used to be called the Galactic Federation. Approaching the Kelton system, Sam reported over his encrypted radio, beginning deep scan of the region. What Sam found there made his blood run cold. The beautiful blue worlds where the Kelton people had built their civilization were under attack. Strange mechanical ships, unlike anything in the galactic databases, swarmed around the planet like angry insects. Explosions lit up the surface as cities burned. "Admiral Sullivan, you need to see this," Sam transmitted back to Earth, sending the visual data through his ship's quantum communicator. "The Keltons are being wiped out." Back on Earth, Admiral Kate Sullivan watched the images with growing horror. The Keltons were the same peaceful people that humans had saved years ago. The rescue mission that had helped convince the aliens to exile humanity. Now those gentle beings were dying while the Galactic Federation did nothing to help them. "What are those attacking ships?" Sullivan asked her intelligence officer, Commander Lisa Reynolds. Lisa had been studying alien military technology for years, preparing for the day humans might face their former oppressors in battle. "Unknown design," Lisa replied, her voice tight with concern. "The computer calls them mechanical constructs, probably artificial intelligence controlling drone ships. They adapt to whatever weapons are used against them. Sam continued his reconnaissance, moving through system after system that had once been peaceful Federation worlds. What he found was a galaxy at war. The mechanical invaders, which galactic news broadcasts called the Void Swarm, had appeared from empty space and begun systematically destroying every living world they encountered. The Federation response is pathetic, Sam reported after a week of observation. They have abandoned entire star systems. They are just trying to contain the threat instead of fighting it. Admiral Sullivan studied the reports coming in from Sam's mission. The Federation fleet maintained defensive positions around their core worlds, but they had written off billions of lives in the outer systems. It was exactly the kind of cold, logical response that had made the aliens exile humanity in the first place. Estimated casualties in the abandoned systems? Sullivan asked. Over 2 billion confirmed dead, came the reply from Earth's Intelligence Center. Possibly twice that number if we count the worlds that have gone silent. President Helen Davis convened an emergency session of Earth's leadership. In the secure briefing room, she laid out the situation facing not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. The same aliens who cast us out for being too emotional are now watching billions die because they are not emotional enough. General Patricia Clark spoke up from her seat at the strategy table. This could be our opportunity. The Federation is weak and distracted. We could establish ourselves as the real power in the galaxy. No, said Dr. Lisa Martinez firmly. The woman who had once stood up to the Alien Council now served as Earth's advisor on interspecies relations. This is our chance to show them what humanity really stands for. Not conquest, but protection. Not revenge, but rescue. Amy Carter, whose breakthrough technology had made this moment possible, agreed with Lisa. We spent 3 years building ships and weapons, but the real test is not whether we can destroy our enemies. It is whether we can save our friends. Admiral Sullivan looked at the star charts showing Federation space. Red zones marked systems that had fallen to the Void Swarm. Yellow zones showed worlds under attack. Green zones indicated areas still under Federation control, but those were shrinking every day. We have 50 ships ready for combat, Sullivan said. Our technology is superior to anything the Federation or the Void Swarm possesses. We could make a real difference. President Davis made the decision that would change galactic history. Then we go. Not as conquerors, but as defenders. We show the galaxy what humans do when innocent people are in danger. The human fleet that departed Earth was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. 50 ships that could appear and disappear at will, move faster than thought and adapt to any situation. Their hulls flowed like living things. Their weapons operated on principles that no alien science understood. And their crews were enhanced humans who could think and react with superhuman speed while maintaining their essentially human hearts. Commander Lisa Reynolds led the first engagement above. Kelton Prime, her ship, the Earth Defense Ship Retribution, emerged from folded space directly in the path of a Void Swarm attack fleet. The mechanical invaders had never encountered human technology before, and their adaptive programming was useless against weapons that operated in ways their creators had never imagined. All ships, engage targets freely, Reynolds ordered. Remember, we are here to save lives, not to prove points. The battle was swift and decisive. Human ships moved through the enemy formation like dancers, their flowing hulls deflecting mechanical weapons while their own guns tore through alien armor. The Void Swarm ships tried to adapt to human tactics, but how do you adapt to opponents who can change the laws of physics around them? Enemy fleet destroyed, Reynolds reported after 4 hours of combat. No human casualties. Beginning rescue operations on the surface, while the space battle raged above, human medical teams had already landed on Kelton Prime. Dr. Carlos Mendez led the rescue effort, using human innovation to save lives that the Federation had written off as lost. His teams worked around the clock, pulling survivors from collapsed buildings and treating injuries with medical technology that surpassed anything the galaxy had seen. We found them, came the report from Kelton's underground cities. 3 million survivors in emergency shelters. The Federation sensors missed them completely because they were too deep underground. Of course they missed them, Dr. Mendez replied as he treated a wounded Kelton child. Federation scanners only look for life signs on the surface. They never thought to look deeper because that would require effort. News of the human intervention spread through galactic communication networks like wildfire. Species that had not heard from humanity in 3 years suddenly learned that the exiled race had returned, not as invaders, but as saviors. The impact on galactic morale was immediate and profound, but the humans were just getting started. Reports came in from across Federation space of mysterious ships appearing wherever the Void Swarm attacked. Pirate fleets that had preyed on refugee convoys found themselves facing invisible opponents who struck without warning. Stranded Federation vessels received aid from ships that vanished before they could be properly identified. "Sir, we have confirmation of human activity in 17 systems," reported the Federation intelligence officer to Chancellor Vex of the Zephyrians. "They appear to be conducting systematic rescue operations across our territory." Chancellor Vex, the same alien who had pronounced humanity's exile 3 years earlier, found himself in the unprecedented position of needing help from the species he had cast out. "How is this possible? Our border sensors show no signs of human ships. Their technology appears to be completely undetectable by our instruments," came the worried reply. "They can appear anywhere at any time without warning." The Galactic Council convened an emergency session as reports flooded in from across Federation space. Human ships were everywhere, stopping attacks, rescuing civilians, and defending worlds that the Federation had abandoned. But these were not the same humans who had been exiled 3 years earlier. "They move like ghosts," reported Admiral Zorax of the Federation Defense Fleet. "Our ships cannot match their speed or detect their presence. They appear to be using technology that operates on completely unknown principles." "What do they want?" asked the insectoid representative from the Hive Collective. "Why are they helping us instead of attacking us?" The answer came from an unexpected source. A broadcast reached the council chamber from an unknown transmitter, carrying the image of President Helen Davis. She sat in what appeared to be the command center of a human ship, her expression calm but determined. "People of the galaxy," Davis began, "3 years ago, you exiled humanity for being too emotional, too unpredictable, too willing to help others even when logic said we should not. You were right about us. We are emotional. When we see innocent people suffering, we cannot simply calculate acceptable losses and move on. We are unpredictable. When faced with impossible odds, we do not surrender to logic. We find impossible solutions." Behind Davis, through the ship's windows, the lights of the human fleet could be seen spreading across the stars. Ships that had been built in exile, powered by discoveries made in isolation, crewed by people who had been told they were not good enough for galactic civilization. "You cast us out because you said we were incompatible with your way of life," Davis continued. "You were right about that too. We cannot be part of a civilization that values order over compassion, procedure over people, cold logic over warm hearts, but we can offer you something better." Amy Carter had not slept for 3 days. She stood in her laboratory deep under the moon's surface, staring at readings that changed everything humans thought they knew about space travel. Coffee cups covered her desk and her hair was messy, but her eyes were bright with the kind of excitement that comes from discovering something impossible. "Chris, the quantum field is stable," she called to her partner across the lab. Chris Thompson looked up from his own computer, where he had been checking Amy's math for the 100th time. Neither of them could believe what they were seeing, but the numbers did not lie. The machine in front of them was small, no bigger than a refrigerator, but it was bending space in ways that alien science said could not be done. Instead of punching violent holes through the fabric of reality like alien ships did, Amy's invention folded space gently, like a person folding a piece of cloth. The energy it used was tiny compared to alien engines, and the effect was completely invisible to their sensors. "Run the test again," Chris said, even though they had already run it 50 times. "I want to be absolutely sure before we tell anyone else." Amy activated the machine. Space twisted around them in a way that made their eyes water, but the feeling lasted only a second. When it was over, the readings showed that they had successfully moved a small object from one side of the lab to the other, without it traveling through the space in between. "It works every time," Amy whispered. "We did it. We actually did it." The discovery would have been impossible without the exile. For years, humans had tried to understand alien technology by copying it. They had made slow progress, always staying one step behind species that had been traveling the stars for millennia. But being cut off from alien knowledge had forced them to think in completely new ways. Admiral Kate Sullivan arrived at Luna City within hours of getting Amy's message. She brought with her President Helen Davis and a small group of military leaders who needed to understand what this breakthrough meant for humanity's future. They gathered in Amy's lab, looking at the small machine that might change the galaxy. "Explain it to us like we are children," President Davis said. She was a smart woman, but quantum physics was not her specialty. "What does this machine do that alien technology cannot do?" Amy took a deep breath. "Alien ships tear holes in space to travel fast. It works, but it is messy and violent. Our method is completely different. We convince space to fold itself. Instead of breaking the rules of physics, we ask them to help us." Chris stepped forward with a simple demonstration. He placed a piece of paper on the table and marked 2 points on opposite ends. "Alien technology would drill a hole from this point to this point." He poked a hole through the paper with his pen. "Our technology does this." He folded the paper so the 2 points touched. Same result, but no damage to the paper. Admiral Sullivan understood immediately. "And their sensors cannot detect it because we are not actually breaking anything." "Exactly," Amy said. "To their instruments, it looks like natural background radiation. They would never know we were there." President Davis looked at the small machine with new respect. "How long before we can put this technology in a ship?" "The first prototype fighter should be ready in 6 months," Chris replied. "A full-sized warship might take a year." "Do it," the president said. "And expand the team. I want our best scientists working on this around the clock." While Amy and Chris worked on perfecting their space-folding technology, other humans were making their own breakthroughs. Dr. Lisa Martinez had been developing ways to enhance human capabilities without losing their essential humanity. Unlike the crude mechanical implants that some alien species used, Lisa's innovations worked with the human body instead of replacing parts of it. "We are not trying to become machines," Lisa explained to her research team. "We are trying to become better humans. Faster reflexes, clearer thinking, stronger bodies, but still human hearts and human souls." Her laboratory was filled with volunteers who wanted to be part of humanity's future. They were pilots and soldiers and scientists who understood that the coming conflict would require humans to be more than they had ever been before. The enhancements Lisa developed were subtle but powerful, allowing humans to react faster and think more clearly while maintaining their capacity for emotion and creativity. Meanwhile, in Earth's orbital shipyards, Ryan Brooks was building the first ships designed specifically for Amy's new engines. These vessels looked nothing like traditional spacecraft. Their hulls could change shape during flight, flowing like liquid metal to adapt to different situations. They carried weapons based on principles that alien science had never encountered, and their electronic systems could make decisions faster than any organic brain. "The aliens think in straight lines," Ryan explained to his construction crews. "They build ships for specific purposes and never change them. Our ships can become whatever we need them to be." The first prototype was ready for testing ahead of schedule. Sam Parker, the young pilot who had tested Amy's early engine, was chosen to take it on its maiden voyage. The ship he would fly was unlike anything that had ever existed, a fusion of human creativity and technologies that the galaxy had never seen. "Remember, this is just a test flight," Admiral Sullivan told Sam as he prepared to board the prototype. "Take it to Alpha Centauri and back. See how it handles. Do not engage any alien vessels if you encounter them." Sam grinned. "Do not worry, Admiral. I will be invisible to them anyway." The flight was a complete success. Sam's ship folded space around itself and arrived at Alpha Centauri in minutes instead of the weeks it would take alien vessels. The journey was so smooth that Sam barely felt any movement at all. More importantly, automated alien sensors in the system showed no sign that any ship had passed through. "It is like swimming through stars," Sam reported when he returned to Earth. "The ship feels alive. It responds to what I want before I even think about it." But the real test came when Sam encountered an alien patrol ship near the edge of human space. The alien vessel was clearly watching for any signs of human activity, its sensors sweeping space for any violation of the exile order. Sam's ship passed within a few kilometers of the alien patrol, but their instruments detected nothing. "They looked right at us and saw empty space," Sam reported later. "We could have flown circles around them and they never would have known." News of the successful test spread quickly through Earth's leadership. For the first time since the exile began, humans had a real advantage over their former oppressors. They could go anywhere in the galaxy without being detected, and their ships were faster and more capable than anything the aliens possessed. President Davis called a meeting of Earth's top military and scientific leaders. In a secure room deep beneath the White House, she laid out the situation facing humanity. We now have the capability to return to galactic space without being detected. The question is, what do we do with this advantage? Admiral Sullivan spoke first. We could establish secret colonies on worlds the aliens think are empty, build up our strength without them knowing. Or we could gather intelligence, suggested General Patricia Clark, head of Earth's intelligence services. Find out what the aliens are really afraid of. Why did they exile us? What do they know that we do not? Amy Carter, who had been invited to the meeting because of her crucial discovery, raised her hand. I think we need to be very careful. This technology gives us a huge advantage, but only if we keep it secret. If the aliens find out what we can do, they might decide that exile is not enough punishment. Chris Thompson nodded in agreement. We need to use this time to become stronger. Not just our technology, but our understanding of the galaxy. When we reveal ourselves, we need to be ready for whatever comes next. President Davis looked around the room at the faces of humanity's leaders. These were people who had been forced to watch their species be cast out like criminals, but they had not given up. They had used their exile to become something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. Then we prepare, she said finally. We scout the galaxy in secret. We learn everything we can about our former oppressors. And when the time is right, we show them that casting out humanity was the biggest mistake they ever made. Outside the meeting room, beyond Earth's atmosphere, the lights of human ships continued to fill the space between worlds. Each ship represented not just advanced technology, but human determination, human creativity, and human refusal to accept defeat. The aliens had tried to contain humanity within one solar system, but they had only succeeded in giving humans the time and motivation they needed to transcend every limitation that had ever been placed on them. The Galactic Council chamber had never seen anything like this before. Representatives from dozens of species filled the Great Hall, but instead of the usual formal proceedings, the air buzzed with nervous energy and whispered conversations. At the center of it all stood Chancellor Vex of the Zephyrians, the same being who had pronounced humanity's exile 3 years earlier. The Council recognizes the urgent nature of this session, Vex announced, his crystalline voice carrying clearly through the chamber. Reports have reached us from every corner of Federation space. Human vessels have been observed conducting rescue operations, engaging hostile forces, and providing aid to Federation citizens. In the observation gallery, Ambassador Jake Harrison sat with the small human delegation that had been hastily invited back to galactic space. Jake looked older than he had 3 years ago, his hair grayer and his face marked by the weight of leading humanity through its darkest period. Beside him sat Dr. Lisa Martinez, Admiral Kate Sullivan, and President Helen Davis, who had made the journey from Earth to witness this historic moment. Perhaps our previous assessment was hasty, Chancellor Vex continued, his words causing murmurs throughout the chamber. The human response to the current crisis has been both unexpected and effective. Their military capabilities appear to have advanced significantly during their period of isolation. President Davis stood and walked to the speaking platform. Unlike 3 years ago, when Jake had stood there pleading for humanity's inclusion, Davis commanded the room's attention simply by her presence. The humans were no longer supplicants begging for acceptance. They were the most powerful force in the galaxy, and everyone knew it. Honored representatives, Davis began, her voice steady and confident. You cast us out because you said we were too emotional, too unpredictable, too willing to act without proper authorization. You were absolutely correct. The chamber fell silent. Davis let the words hang in the air before continuing. We are emotional. When the Void Swarm attacked the Kelton worlds, we did not convene committees to discuss acceptable casualty rates. We felt the pain of innocent people dying and we acted to stop it. We are unpredictable. When your military experts declared the mechanical invaders unstoppable, we refused to accept that assessment and found ways to defeat them. We act without authorization because sometimes waiting for permission means letting people die. Admiral Sullivan stepped forward to join the president at the speaking platform. Your Federation has existed for thousands of years, she said, addressing the alien representatives directly. In all that time, you have maintained peace through fear and order through rigid control. But you have also become weak. When real danger appeared, you abandoned billions of your own citizens rather than risk your comfortable stability. Dr. Martinez moved to stand with her colleagues. You called us incompatible with galactic civilization. You were right about that too. We cannot be part of a system that values procedure over people, logic over compassion, order over justice. We will not sit in committees while innocent beings suffer. We will not calculate acceptable losses when we have the power to save lives. Jake Harrison rose from his seat in the gallery and joined the other humans on the platform. 3 years ago, I stood here asking you to accept us into your federation. Today, we stand here offering you something better. Not membership in your old system, but partnership in building something new. The chamber erupted in voices as representatives from dozens of species began talking at once. Some called for humanity's immediate readmission to the Federation. Others demanded to know the source of human military superiority. A few suggested that humanity had become too dangerous to allow back into galactic society. But then something unprecedented happened. The Kelton representative, a gentle being whose people had been saved by human intervention, stood and spoke in a voice that carried across the chaos. The humans did not save my people because they wanted something in return, the Kelton said. They saved us because they could not bear to watch us die. That is not weakness. That is strength. That is what we have been missing in this galaxy for far too long. One by one, other species began to stand. The Harmony Collective, whose worlds had been defended by mysterious human ships. The clan territories, whose refugee fleets had been protected by invisible guardians. Even some core Federation worlds whose citizens had been rescued from Void Swarm attacks. The Federation has failed us, declared the representative from the Outer Rim colonies. For 3 years, they have watched the galaxy burn while debating proper procedures. Humanity has done more to protect galactic civilization in 3 months than the Federation has done in 3 decades. Chancellor Vex found himself facing something that had never happened in galactic history. Species after species was withdrawing their support from the Federation and calling for a new alliance based on the human model of active protection rather than passive governance. What exactly are you proposing? Vex asked, his crystalline form flickering with what might have been fear. President Davis stepped forward one final time. We propose an alliance of equals, not a federation that rules from the top down, but a community that protects from the ground up. Every species contributes what they do best. Humans will provide protection and innovation. The Keltons will offer their agricultural expertise. The Harmony Collective will share their medical knowledge. Together we build something stronger than any of us could create alone. Dr. Amy Carter, who had been invited to explain humanity's technological breakthroughs, took the platform. We learned something during our exile. When you force people to rely only on themselves, they become stronger. When you cut them off from old ways of doing things, they discover new possibilities. Humanity spent 3 years in isolation, and we emerged with capabilities that the galaxy has never seen. Our ships can travel faster than any Federation vessel, Carter continued, her words causing excited murmurs throughout the chamber. They can become invisible to your sensors. They can adapt to any situation. But more importantly, they are guided by humans who will never abandon innocent people to save themselves. Admiral Sullivan outlined the military implications. The Void Swarm is still out there. They have adapted to Federation tactics and weapons, but they cannot adapt to what they cannot understand. Human technology operates on principles that their programming was never designed to counter. Working together, we can drive them back to whatever dark corner of space they came from. Over the following months, the transformation of galactic society was swift and profound. The Galactic Federation quietly dissolved as species after species chose to join humanity's new alliance. The bureaucratic councils were replaced by action committees. The rigid hierarchies gave way to flexible partnerships. The culture of careful inaction was swept aside by a new commitment to decisive intervention. Sam Parker, now promoted to admiral, oversaw the integration of alien vessels into the human fleet. Kelton agricultural ships worked alongside human destroyers. Harmony medical vessels flew in formation with human carriers. The diversity that the old Federation had tried to suppress became the new alliance's greatest strength. Every species brings something different to the fight, Sam explained to a group of young officers from a dozen different worlds. The Keltons teach us patience. The Harmony Collective shows us compassion. The clan territories demonstrate courage. And humans, We provide the stubborn refusal to accept defeat. Dr. Carter's research stations, now spread across dozens of Alliance worlds, continued pushing the boundaries of what was possible. Her latest project, a network of quantum gates that could connect distant worlds instantly, promised to unite the galaxy in ways the old Federation had never imagined. We are not just building better technology, Carter explained to President Davis during a tour of the new research facility on Harmony Prime. We are building a better future. One where distance does not mean isolation, where difference does not mean division, where helping others is not seen as weakness, but as the highest form of strength. Admiral Sullivan stood on the bridge of the new flagship Alliance, a vessel built using technology from a dozen different species but guided by human principles. Around her, beings from across the galaxy worked together as equals, united not by fear or authority, but by shared commitment to protecting innocent life. The aliens thought they were punishing us by casting us out, Sullivan reflected as she watched the diverse crew at their stations. Instead, they gave us exactly what we needed: time to grow, space to innovate, and most importantly, the motivation to prove that being human means never giving up on others. In the months and years that followed, the galaxy changed in ways that no one had thought possible. Ancient conflicts were resolved through human-style diplomacy that valued emotion and intuition alongside logic. New technologies emerged from the combination of human innovation and alien knowledge. The Void Swarm was not just defeated but transformed, their mechanical consciousness guided toward creation rather than destruction. But perhaps the most important change was in how the galaxy understood itself. The old Federation had been built on the idea that order and logic were the highest virtues. The new alliance was founded on the revolutionary concept that caring about others,